Good morning, everyone. We welcome ma'am to the webinar. Thank you for accepting our invitation for webinar, Yashika ma'am. Okay, I'll give a brief introduction about her. She has done her MSc in PHN and she is a certified lactation counselor. And now she has started her own consultancy called as Panay Consultancy for pregnancy and lactation specifically. So yeah, welcome ma'am and thank you for being part of the webinar.
Thank you so much, Ms. Harpi. This is a very nice opportunity for me also. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to interact with the students of Parul University. Preconception care. Before starting this topic, I would like to share a short story of mine having or generating interest in this preconception care. Ever since I have been postgraduated in masters, I have worked with the Anganwadi centers. Many of you must be knowing what is Anganwadi Center. It is an ICDS program. It is a scheme running in India where a slum population is being benefited in terms of nutrition and healthcare. So I have worked there for almost 3.5 to 4 years, and where we have worked with a pregnant lady, lactating mother, children, and adolescent girl. So there is a program. There was a program, and it is still there. It is every now and then there's some or the new program is introducing, and we are doing good in those programs. We are helping the children gain their optimum weight and helping them to improve their nutritional status. But while I was working with them, I came across that this preconception care was there. See, ICDS is providing nutrition counseling and health programs to 15 to 45 years of reproductive age group women. But somehow the focus was not on this preconception. Like focus was there on adolescent girls, focus was there on adolescent boys. Then directly the focus was on pregnant ladies. So there was a gap in between. So the program was not, it was there in the program, but it was not 100% focusing on the in-between population. So where I came across that there must be something which needs to be given to these middle population, like after adolescent till they become pregnant. So every married woman should be included in this preconception care, because once she is married, she does not know when she is going to get pregnant. Not every time planning works. It can be unplanned also. So if the lady gets pregnant, which is unplanned, the preconception care will not happen. And if the lady is undernourished, or if she is having some pre-medical conditions which she is not aware, she is going to give birth to an undernourished or low birth weight baby, and the cycle of malnutrition will continue. So in those 3.5 years, I developed interest in this preconception care, and I always wanted to do something in this. Thus, I started reading about this preconception care thing. I searched a lot. I searched research papers and all. And then before implementing on other people, I started implementing everything on myself. So I started implementing, after reading it, I started implementing this preconception care on myself in 2017. So since 2017 till I conceived in 2019, I have, in 2 years, there are 13 focus area in this preconception care program, and I have tried to incorporate almost all in my personal journey of being pregnant. So I must say that if a lady is undergoing this preconception care, the outcome, the pregnancy outcome and the pregnancy journey becomes beautiful and healthy, and the child born to this type of woman is also healthy, and the positive pregnancy outcome comes. So let us start with the definition. So definition of this is which is given by actually WHO. Preconception care is the provision of biomedical comprise of everything like health and nutrition. We have to go hand in hand. It is not a field focus. There's a lot of field is being involved in this, and we have to collaborate with each and everything, and then we have to go hand in hand. Then it is also provision of behavioral. Now behavioral problem, mental disease comes in this, and behavior, how the person is behaving, how the person is thinking, basically mental health, and what type of drug the lady is taking, all comes in this behavioral thing. Then social health intervention. Now social health intervention comprise of interpersonal violence, problems in the family, etc. So preconception care covers everything from biomedical to behavioral to social health intervention. The main aim of this preconception care is the positive health outcome of maternal and child nutrition. We just want to improve the maternal and child health. That is why preconception needs to be done. Moving forward, there is a aim. So the main aim of this preconception care is, see, we get a lot of opportunities throughout the lifespan, starting from the newborn to infancy to childhood to school years to adolescent to adulthood, the reproductive age group till aging. So we as a nutritionist get a lot of opportunities where we can focus on that particular thing, and we can also break the chain, break the cycle of malnutrition. Right. So we have to identify, see, we are nutrition person, that we are going to you are going to counsel future in future, and many times you will get opportunities so that you can identify the problem of that particular person, and then you will be able to break the cycle of undernutrition, overnutrition, and malnutrition, or micronutrient malnutrition. So we need to identify those gaps or multiple stages of life in that person and try to break the cycle. Now preconception care is one opportunity where we can help the couple to have positive birth, positive pregnancy outcomes, a good birth, and they can, irrespective if they are planning for their child, or see, once they plan for the child, this preconception care does not start. This preconception care starts way beyond they start planning, that now we are ready for the kid, we want a child. This preconception care starts way beyond. So who all are the target audience is just married couples. Even though they want to have their first child even after 5 years, this preconception care needs to be done in those first 5 years also. See, this is what the cycle I was talking about. To explain in a better way, I would like to give example of myself only. When I was born, I was healthy. Then later in the complementary feeding phase, I became malnourished, basically undernourished. So the school year, my school years and my school year were undernourished. Went into undernourishment. I get infections every month. I had to go to the pediatrician every month. So there was no opportunity for me to go into the normal zone or go into the normal health status. Then after in adolescence, because of the growth spurts, I started gaining weight. I started eating. My infection was not so severe. I was better. But then gradually, because I was eating a lot of food and it was fast food and everything, this is still I joined Foods and Nutrition. Okay, till I joined Foods and Nutrition, I was eating a lot of food, and then gradually I was moving towards the overnutrition zone. So for me, after this concept came into my mind, preconception, after I got married, one thing was in my mind, that I need to break this cycle, my own cycle of malnutrition. First it was undernutrition, then it was overnutrition. So then I had to work on my preconception thing. So I have worked on my preconception thing. I took 2 years to accomplish all the 13 areas which we are going to go through in the next few slides. So mental health, interpersonal violence, there was no interpersonal violence, but then mental health, mental stress, work stress, then physical activities, there was lack of physical activity, there was a lack of environmental thing, everything, then personal hygiene and everything I had adopted in this preconception care, and I have tried to break this cycle. And to my experience, it was a very successful thing. My pregnancy was very healthy, with no problem. I have faced no diabetes, no hypertension, the adequate weight I had gained, and the child born to me was normal, was having normal birth weight, and the child to me is 1 year old. He's a son, and he's 1 year old, and he's quite healthy. So there is no. So I was able to break the cycle. So I see, whenever you get this opportunity, even if you get the opportunity when a pregnant lady comes to you, you need to focus on the child which is going to get born to that lady, that couple. So you have to focus on breaking the cycle of malnutrition. Moving towards the next slide, these are the various facts. See, WHO in around 2012 met to develop a global consensus on preconception care to reduce maternal and child mortality and morbidity. They have come up with these facts, and with the help of the researchers ongoing in the globe, they say that 4 out of 10 women report that their pregnancies are unplanned. So all the essential health intervention which should be provided before the lady is getting pregnant, it is getting too late in 40% of pregnancy. Now 40% of pregnancy, which means the number is very big. See, most of the couple come to know that they are pregnant in almost 2.5 or 3 months. So maximum development of the brain occurs in the first 3 months, and where folic acid and iron and iodine plays a very important role in that. And folic acid deficiency can cause neural tube defects in the fetus. So that is why they every pregnancy should be planned, and which is not happening. So we have to focus on preconception care. Next is maternal undernutrition. Iron deficiency anemia increases the risk of maternal death, accounting for 20% of maternal mortality worldwide. So this is also a focus area. That is why preconception care should be done. In 2010, 58,000 newborn babies died from neonatal tetanus. Now we all work with this metal thing, and we all get cuts. We all use knives and scissors and all. And not every person is responsible to go and take the tetanus injection. Now during pregnancy, the lady gets 2 tetanus doses. But what if the infection spreads before she gets the tetanus injection in the pregnancy duration? The tetanus injection is only after 3 months. So what if the lady gets infected with tetanus and she infects the fetus in her womb? So this is also very dangerous. And then perinatal deaths are 50% higher among both. See, and 20 years below if the lady is getting pregnant. Now this mostly occurs in low income group like slum areas or so. They get married earlier and then they get pregnant also, and the pregnancies are mostly unplanned. So the death of the child is 50% in those who are having pregnancy under 20 years. Next is up to 35% of pregnancy among women with untreated gonococcal infection. This is sexually transmitted disease or infection, which accounts for low birth weight babies and premature delivery. So that is what I said, that personal hygiene is also must in this preconception care. You cannot use any of the unclean toilets, and so urinary tract infection is very common right now in this era, and it is very dangerous during pregnancy, and it needs to be focused. Next, HIV transmission. In the absence of intervention, rates of HIV transmission. See, if the mother is also only unknown about the HIV thing, she is definitely going to transfer this HIV infection to the child. But if the mother is known or known HIV positive thing, she will be on treatment, and the chances of transmitting to her child will be less. So that is why in slum area, as well as normal gynecologists also go for this HIV test. So even I had gone through this HIV test. Okay, so it is compulsory now to find out whether the mother is HIV or not. Then violence against girls and women result in adverse physical and psychological and reproductive consequences, as well as increased risk of premature delivery and low birth infants. Here comes the mental health thing. Even if the mental health of the person, if the lady is not good, this will result in the adverse effect of that newborn child. Women with epilepsy are at increased risk of having babies with congenital anomalies. Epilepsy is a central nervous system symptom or disease, we can say. Then estimates indicate that eliminating smoking before or during pregnancy could avoid 5 to 7%. Nowadays, smoking is a trend, and many people smoke. Even girls also smoke. They are also taking tobacco and everything. That should be avoided in this preconception care. Otherwise, there will be bad or adverse health effect on the child. And another thing it will cause is sudden infant death syndrome. The infant will born and then suddenly the infant will die. Okay, moving towards the next. See, out of these facts and the definition, I count these points as a risk factor and needs to be focused in the preconception care. So unplanned pregnancy, the couple needs to be advised about the protection things so that the unplanned pregnancy does not occur. Then maternal age should be counseled, undernutrition should be identified, iron deficiency, anemia should be identified, vaccine preventable, for example, it is tetanus, should be identified. So we have to, once the patient comes in the preconception time, we need to go back to 4 to 5 years, that what the eating pattern is there of that particular couple or that particular lady, and what accidents or incidents has happened to them. And then sexually transmitted disease also we need to check, epilepsy, smoking, alcohol use. Alcohol consumption is also very common in both men and women in this era. And thus we need to focus on these risk factors while we are dealing with the couple, married couple, and they are coming to us for preconception care. This is what I said, what can be done. We all know that these all risk factors lead to pregnancy, adverse pregnancy outcomes, and this is another fact that analysis to estimate the impact of maternal child undernutrition witnessed that stunting, severe wasting, and intrauterine growth restrictions were responsible for 0.6 million deaths and 24.6 million Delhi's disability attributed life in years in babies below 5 years of age. Which means, this data means that if the lady is not undergoing preconception care or pregnancy care, the damage to the child is more. Okay, and for now, what we can do is an intensive healthcare approach is desirable. We have to identify these people. We have to create awareness, and that is what I am doing through my firm. My focus area of my firm is just maternal and child nutrition, and it starts from preconception till the child is 5 years, and it comprises of everything, be pregnancy nutrition or lactation nutrition, post-pregnancy weight loss, everything I cover in my firm. And lack of, sometimes there is a lack of awareness or lack of healthcare measures, and that should be fulfilled by, see, as I said that it might also happen that the adolescent, there are programs, but in adolescent she must be left over, or somehow she was left over, or somehow she did not avail those services or whatever. Then we have an opportunity at the preconception care that we can give that good health and nutrition counseling in the preconception care. Why invest in preconception care? From the above few slides, we can all predict that what it will benefit. It will help in reduce maternal child mortality, prevent unintended pregnancies, prevent complication during pregnancy and delivery, prevent stillbirth, preterm birth, and low birth weight baby, prevent birth defects, neonatal infections, underweight and stunting, prevent ventricle transmissions of HIV and STIs, lowers the risk of some childhood cancers and type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular diseases in the later life, both in the mother as well as in the child. Okay, so these are the 13 package areas covered by the conception care package. Now, this conception care package has been developed by WHO in 2012, and WHO is works globally. So, not all 13 areas are valid in India, I must say, but we have tried to focus on mostly all. So for India, FOGSI, that is Federation of Obstetrician and Gynecology Society of India, they have adopted this package from WHO, and they have developed our own guidelines. You can check on Google, you can write FOGSI guidelines for preconception care, you will be able to find that. They have developed what is valid in India, what is there in India. They have adopted some of the points from these 13 areas and have developed guidance or recommendations for Indians, and with the help of all the researches ongoing in India. So each and every point over here is very vast, and we will not be able to cover everything, but as a nutrition person or a nutrition background, we need to focus on these nutritional conditions. So today we will be focusing on nutritional conditions, and moving towards the next. Yes, nutrition and folic acid. Now, folic acid plays a very important role in the first 3 months of pregnancy, and if there is a deficiency of folic acid, then neural tube defect problem will occur in the newborn or in the fetus. So it is recommended by FOGSI that all women of childbearing age should be recommended to take folic acid of 0.4 or 0.5 mg daily, at least a month before conception or up to 3 months after conception. Okay, so there is a range. So 3 months of conception, so the couple might not know that they have conceived. That is why up to 3 months after conception. So once the lady visits the gynecologist, when they start planning or so, the first thing the gynecologist will prescribe is this folic acid. 1 minute. Then this is for normal people, but if the women of the childbearing age who are at risk, identified as at risk or moderate risk of NTDs, that is neural tube defects in the family, or they have the family history of neural tube defects in the first or second degree relatives, then the dosage is 1 mg, the duration is the same. And if the lady is at high risk, the dosage is 4 mg folic acid daily, and the duration is again the same, 1 month before and up to 3 months. Next is anemia. Now, you must all have gone through the researches, and paper also says that all women in the conception period should be screened for anemia with hemoglobin as primary screening test and treated appropriately. Considering the very high incidence of anemia in India, a weekly supplementation of 100 mg elemental iron and 500 microgram of folic acid with deworming should be recommended to all the women in the preconception period. So if the lady is coming to you, so you have to ask her to go to the lab and go for the iron testing. Anemia testing must be recommended from our side. Then this is very important, optimal body weight management. Okay, we have an opportunity in the preconception care that even if the lady is overweight or underweight, we can advise them. What we can do, we cannot force them to gain weight or lose weight, but what we can do is we can just counsel them about the increased risk of maternal and perinatal outcomes, such as neural tube defects, macrosomia. Macrosomia is delivering large babies. Large babies is around 4 kg babies, which is overweight babies, and the consequences of delivering overweight babies to mother and the child is different, and it is worse. They can develop diabetes and cardiovascular disease in the later lives. Preterm delivery, stillbirth, gestational diabetes, hypertension, and thromboembolic disorder, which is blood clots. So we have to just counsel them that there is a risk of you being in this BMI, and if you want to eliminate this risk, then you have to come or attain the BMI of 18 to 23 before conception, before you conceive. So what we can suggest is we can emphasize either on the diet or exercise, or we can ask them to go for both. Depending upon what is their situation, depending upon their profile, their weight profile also. Some women some women are so that they need to just lose 2 kg or 5 kg, which is very easy, and some ladies are such that they need to lose 40 kg or 30 kg or 20 kg. So depending upon their preference and depending upon their priorities, we have to only suggest. The ultimate decision is them only. Okay, irrespective, see, even though they plan that they don't want to lose weight or gain weight, or maybe lose weight, then losing weight during pregnancy is not recommended. So even if the lady comes to you overweight or obese, then you have to focus on limited amount of weight gain during the period of pregnancy. So if the lady is obese, then the weight gain preferred for her in the 9 months is just 6 to 8 kgs, not more than that. And if the lady is overweight, then not more than 10 kgs weight gain is recommended. If the woman is above 32.5 or 37.5, bariatric surgery is suggested, or many people will undergo this type of surgery. But if the ladies have undergone this surgery, then she should avoid the pregnancy at least for 12 to 18 months. Then, just like overnutrition is a problem, undernutrition is also a problem. So if the lady is underweight, you have to figure out, that you have to counsel or point out the increased risk of perinatal outcomes such as preterm birth, low birth weight babies, and increased risk of birth defects. Okay, so both underweight and overweight is a problem, and both of them have increased risk of the perinatal outcomes. We can just point out those and ask them to gain weight or lose weight. Otherwise, we cannot do anything. It is the individual person's priority and their call. So one example I would like to share over here is 2 people have joined recently in my preconception care, and one is underweight. She was eating well, but then she came into my preconception care plan, and then gradually she is gaining weight. So I have compulsively told that she is supporting me and I am supporting her. This is 2 ways communication going on with that lady, and she says that I have told her that once you achieve your target weight, after then only you can start planning your pregnancy. Till then you cannot. So she is also cooperating with me with that, and she is implementing whatever I am counseling to her in my preconception care. And I give 12 sessions of preconception care, comprise or covering all the 13 topics you have seen earlier. And I give the information, I counsel them, and to do it or not to do it is their call. It is their own call, and no force has been done. But once they are aware, once the people is aware about various things in this preconception care, 90% of people focus and do all the things counsel to them. Then chronic medical conditions such as diabetes. Now every lady should be screened whether they want a child in recent times or not. But random fasting blood glucose should be done to every lady at least not in 6 months, but at least in a year, and it should come under the normal range. It should come under 110 if the lady is not having diabetes. But if it comes above 110, then we have to assume that she is in the pre-diabetic state, and she needs to reduce the weight, and she needs to work on the glucose intake, and she needs a nutritionist to focus on her dietary intakes to reduce the pre-diabetic state. So if you go to the gynecologist before you conceive, or when you think that we want a child, immediately that day or the next day, if the couple visits, the gynecologist will prescribe all these tests, so that there is no problem, or the problem is avoided during the pregnancy. My gynecologist prescribed this test, diabetes test, HIV test, and I had undergone these tests, and then after all the treatment were given to me accordingly, what the test results were. So diabetes needs to be done. If the fasting blood glucose is above 110, then she needs to be counseled on the dietary intake, the exercise thing, and reducing the weight if the weight is the problem. And if confirmed diabetes is there, then diabetes medication should be started. Then the lady must go thyroid disease test, that is hyperthyroidism as well as hypothyroidism. See, if the lady wants to conceive, she needs to control her hypothyroidism, and for that a dietary intake of 150 microgram per day of iodine is recommended for all women planning for pregnancy. And this is a universal screening of thyroid dysfunction with thyroid stimulating hormone is desirable considering the high prevalence of thyroid disorders in India. So the lady needs to undergo the thyroid test also. For getting pregnant, the thyroid needs to be on the lower side. The TSH level needs to be on the lower side. My thyroid report was 0.1, just 0.1 higher, and then to the lower power thyroid medicine was started during my pregnancy. But soon after I delivered, after 1 month, that thyroid medicine was stopped, and my thyroid levels came back into the normal range. So for conception, the thyroid needs to be minimum, okay, in the range, but to be on the lower side. So if that is not there, the thyroid medication, the lower power starts. The doctor does not take any risk, and they starts. Similarly, hyperthyroidism needs to be checked, and depending upon the reproductive choices, treatment is suggested. Next is hypertension. Now, a woman should be screened for hypertensive disorders, especially those with pre-hypertensive disorders in pregnancy, or renal disease, or autoimmune disorders. Now, preconception care is not for first child only. It is for every child. Like whether the lady is having second child, or wants to have a second child, or wants to have a third child, preconception care is for before every child. So it might also happen that in earlier pregnancy that the lady was having hypertensive disorder, then hypertension checking must be done. And we are in the era that we take a lot of packet food. Not a nutrition person, but what about the people other than nutrition? They are taking a lot of packet foods. They are eating a lot of fast foods, which is ultimately having sodium more in their diet. So every woman in this preconception care needs to be checked for hypertension, for blood pressure, and if it is on the higher range, then we as a nutritionist needs to focus on reducing the sodium. We have to identify the sodium content in her diet and try and reduce those, so that the blood pressure goes down. And it can be, see, we have to ask everything. It cannot be a packet food, but then the lady must be having pickles or chundas or some Indian thing which a lot of it includes a lot of sodium or salt in it. So we have to give options or reduce or identify those problems. Next is heart disease. Now, not every gynecologist ask or prescribe this test, but if all the above clinical condition, if 2 or 3 are there in that person, then this heart disease or clinical assessment of cardiac disease or cardiac thing is prescribed in the preconceptional period. And if the woman is having known heart disease, should be counseled about the consequences of pre-existing heart condition and the medication used on the pregnancy outcome. So a detailed cardiac assessment prior to conception should be carried out, and if there is a problem, then medication with the help of other doctors can be prescribed to that lady. So here we come to our 13 packages where we have completed nutritional condition. Now, nutrition condition, we have not focused, we have not taken cancer and other few diseases, but these are the most common needs to be focused and needs to be solved. If all these medical conditions are there, then cancers and all other medical conditions are evaluated or prescribed by the doctor. So here I complete my preconception care thing. I'm open for questions, and thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving us such interesting knowledge. Okay, students, if you all have any questions, you may ask. If you all have any questions, you can mention in the chat box also.
I think everybody has understood the importance of preconception care. I think my presentation was really nice and very specific and crisp.
Yes, it was. I don't think they have any questions.
Yeah, if they have questions later on, they can tell you and you can forward those questions to me and I can answer those for you.
Sure, ma'am. Okay, so thank you for being with us, ma'am, and thank you for giving us such important knowledge on preconception care. It was really good to have you here.
Thank you so much.
I hope all the adolescents in this group will have benefit in future. And if you have any questions or if you have any doubt, you can ask her. And I hope you can maximize this usage of this knowledge, whatever you got today in your life. And yeah.
I think there is a question on premature birth thing.
Yeah.
Somebody has asked.
Yeah.
Yes, if premature birth is occurred, the premature child health can get back to normal. Yes, but if the child is premature, then at that point of time, pediatrician and lactation counselor needs to work on that child, and exclusive breastfeeding. Once the child, if the child is in NICU, this is ICU for kids, at that there also the child can be given breastfeeding, express breastfeeding by the mother. Or in Vadodara, we are privileged that we have breast milk bank. From there, we can we don't have to focus, we don't have to rely on the formula thing. We have bank available over here in SSG. So wherever the child is in NICU, the doctors can ask from the breast milk bank, and the breast milk can be given to that child. And once the child is out of the NICU, exclusive breastfeeding practices at home with other practices can be given to that child, and yes, that child can come or can become normal. So that is what I said, that we have a lot of opportunity in the life course. Once the child is out in our hands, with the help of nutritionist and lactation professional, we can shift that child from prematurity or undernutrition to the normal nutrition or normal health child. So there is a possibility, but the child takes time. The child takes apart from if we compare from normal, the child will take 7 to 8 months to come back to the normal thing.
Okay, ma'am, we have a few more questions coming up.
Baby born with overweight because of maternal history of diabetes. Sorry. We can break the cycle. Yes, we can break the cycle. See, if the child is large, if the child is 4 kg or so, we have to focus only on breastfeeding for the first 6 months, and then gradually, with the help of complementary foods, the nutritionist can plan a proper complementary food so that it does not give more energy, but it gives the diet, the schedule of that particular child is that normal nutrition, macro and micronutrient is being given to that child. So yes, a nutritionist can do. What happens in this 4 kg or higher babies? They are mostly born to non-nutrition person, and formula milk is there in India because the lady is not so strong. If the lady is under C-section, she is unconscious for 1.5 to 2 days, and at that point the child is hungry. The child needs food. So doctor starts formula milk, because doctor cannot take risk of the child getting into hypoglycemia. Okay. So hypoglycemia is a problem. If the mother is strong by mind that I will breastfeed my child, then this problem is not there, and we can solve this problem. And yes, we can solve this problem. We can break the cycle. We can break the cycle at any life course which is coming to you. But it is up to the nutritionist and the person, the lady, who is more keen or who puts in all the effort. See, I and we as nutritionists give our 100%, but the mother needs to give, or the lady needs to give her 100% too in achieving that cycle. Otherwise, it is not going to happen. Yes, if premature child is vitamin E deficient, so he or she will be sensitive to oxygen therapy. But as this child has to be in it. Yes, see, vitamin E deficiency is not so common in India, because we eat oils and all, and through that we get vitamin E. But even if the child is premature, depending upon the prematurity of that child, the days of the stay in the NICU depends. If the prematurity is not that much, the child can come out the NICU in 2 to 3 days also. So depending upon the prematurity, and yes, oxygen therapy. If the child is premature, the lungs are not that developed, so that they can take direct air. So that is why that tube has been attached to their nose, so that the air goes in and they can breathe. So if it is sudden prematurity, doctors cannot do anything. But if it is a planned pregnancy, see, if there is a complication if there is complication occurring during the course of pregnancy, like 9 months or so, the doctor knows that in this few days the child needs to be taken out of the womb. So what they do is they give the injection to mature the lungs. Okay, 2 injections in 24 hours, a gap of 24 hours is being given to the mother, so that it helps to develop the lungs. Okay, so if that is given, if it is not an unknown premature, it is known prematurity, then the lungs are mature, and then the child need to go into the NICU. And if it is unknown, if there is sudden delivery, then the child needs to go to the NICU. Ma'am, my aunt consumed coconut water throughout the pregnancy, but during her 8 months, her BP got raised and she had to undergo cesarean due to coconut water. No, coconut water, see, this is a myth. I had coconut water throughout my pregnancy, and coconut water is high in potassium. It does not increase the blood pressure thing, but the diet of her must be having some of the foods or thing that can be high in sodium. So if, for example, the lady must be taking high salt foods, or normal food also must be containing salt, because at that time nausea and vomiting occurs. So we crave for salty foods. Okay, so we cannot have normal high amount of salt. So coconut water does not cause never causes high increase in BP. Coconut water is not a cause, but in some community, coconut water should be avoided because of their ritual things or whatever it was. It was there in my community also. I was not allowed, but then as a nutritionist, I had. If someone is obese and want to conceive, what can we suggest? Okay, if someone is obese, we have to first try and convince her to reduce some amount of weight. Plus, we have to see her schedule and try and make her more active. Okay, if she is having desk job or so we can ask her that after every meal you take walk for 5 minutes. So such small activities we can prescribe her and ask her to be more active and try and lose weight. And if she is not willing to lose weight, then we can prescribe that once you get pregnant, the weight gain should not be more than 7 kgs. Otherwise, she will get all the medical conditions like diabetes also, BP also, everything she will get. So then the weight gain should be controlled, and she will not be able to control. A nutritionist must be there with her throughout the life course to help her to gain only 7 kgs of weight. Hello, ma'am. I just wanted to ask that O negative blood affect mother or child or pregnancy? O negative, no. See, if it is a first child, depending not that it will affect, and the blood group of the child is known only after the child is born most of the time. So if the child takes up O negative blood group, then I think there is no problem. And also in the first pregnancy, no such problem occurs with that blood group thing, as per my knowledge. Any other thing?
We have one more question by Anjali.
A girl is of 19 years who was born as premature child, and she is having weak immune system, painful periods, frequent fevers, and chills, can't adapt new places. How to make her get back? Okay. So she is 19-year-old. She is having weak immunity, painful periods. So she needs to be screened for PCOS first of all. Then she needs to be prescribed with with good nutrition. She premature, but if now we have to also see that what is the weight status of her, BMI status of her, whether she is underweight or overweight or obese, and she has to be shifted to healthy foods. Okay, she is underweight, so yes, then she needs to gain weight with good nutrients, good and healthy foods, and we can create magic. We can create healthy foods So we have to suggest, see, if we ask them to eat vegetables and so, they are not going to use their minds and include those vegetables in their daily diet. What we have to do is we have to give them exact recipes that you can have this chilla, what you can add in that chilla. We have to at least, if we want to motivate our clients now, so we have to cook ourselves those things. We have to put a photo to them that we are also eating this, it is very healthy, because there is a mindset that healthy is not tasty. So we have to burst that myth that not healthy is not tasty. Healthy is always tasty. It depends upon the cook or the ingredients used or the spices. See, we are privileged to have a lot of spices in our Indian culture, so use those spices now. So we have to use those all spices and make the food very healthy according to our taste, taste that is adopted in our society and culture in our home. See, every home is different. So, and the utilization of spices will also be different. We can just give example and they can do plus minus thing in there. But we have to motivate. See, we have to do it first. Then we gain the confidence of counseling others. That is what I did. I gained. I applied a preconception care on myself. I got the good result, and that is why I am so confident that I can give lectures and I can give preconception care programs to all the people around who are interested and who wants to join this program. Some simple recipes, if you can suggest. If this is the case, then we can ask her to increase a lot of vegetables in her diet. How she can include the vegetables? She can take chilla, she can take puda. If she is gujju, then she can add a lot of vegetable in her puda. She can take vegetable idli, add carrots, add beetroot in your vegetable idli, add cauliflower, you can add cauliflower also, you can add cucumber also, it tastes very nice. Then if you are taking dosas, then don't have this potato and onion filling. Add all the vegetables and add pav bhaji masala and it will taste great. Try this recipe for dosa. Another question, why some people get lot of stomach and back pain, body pains in their periods? Okay, that depends that changes from person to person depending upon there are so many reasons. Micronutrient deficiency is one reason, flexibility is another reason. So what that person can do is check on the micronutrient thing, use micronutrient rich foods in their diet, have more protein. We Indians lag in our protein. We have to eat a lot of protein, but we don't eat our protein. And in this nuclear family thing, dal, rice, roti, sabzi is gone. Okay, there is only roti, sabzi, or there is only dal, rice. So protein part is not very much focused. So the lady needs to focus on that. And she might be having PCOS. So that is why the pain can be severe because of this cyst. And to get out of the uterine line, it creates a problem. So the lady needs to be screened for everything. Can they control? Yes, if the lady exercise, if the lady does yoga during her periods, she can definitely eliminate to some extent her pain. If the pregnant woman suffering by any kind of stress or mental issue, then what? She has to go to yoga center. No other option I can give is yoga and meditation. If she does 1 hour of yoga and once a week meditation, all the mental stress will go and it will never come. Okay. Through nutrition, good nutrition, healthy foods, and yoga. Yoga will help the pregnant lady a lot. I think every question has been answered. Yes, Arpi?
We have one more question.
Acha. Ma'am, Is it true in period time they can do exercise? Of course, I did exercise. Yes, the intensity and the I was doing yoga since 2017 to 2019, 2 years at a stretch, and I was having this same myth that during the 5 days you cannot exercise, but no, it is not the true. I was having the same pain problem and everything. My micronutrient status was good. I was healthy, but then I was detected with cyst. Few cysts were there in. So it was the starting of PCOS. It was not confirmed PCOS, but with the help of yoga, I used to do a few asanas and a few exercises, which was given by my trainer. I cannot give only bending exercise or sitting exercise she used to give me, which I was comfortable. So depending upon your comfort, the yoga teacher or the exercise person gives you the exercise, and miracle happened that first time I was in periods and I went to the yoga center and I asked her that I can do only a few things. She used to suggest me that you can do this. If I was comfortable, I said yes, and if I was not, and I said no, I cannot do this. Suggest me some other exercise. So then she suggested. So I was in pain at that time, and after 1 hour, when I came back to home, within half an hour the pain vanished. Okay, so it is helping. Okay, sometimes we need to do exercise to relieve the pain. Okay, so exercise does help in relieving the pain, but I am not an exercise person. I cannot suggest any exercise. It depends upon person. Changes person to person. So exercise expert can give the better exercise. Example of better exercise.
Okay, ma'am. I don't think we have any more questions. Anyone else?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, if someone is overweight or obese, so is that she should first lose weight and then only she can focus on conceiving, or is that we can do both at the same time?
Okay. If the lady is overweight and the overweight is not, if the overweight is just 2 kg or 3 kg, then both the things can go hand in hand. But if the lady is obese, like if she needs to lose 30, 40 kg, then she needs to first focus on weight loss thing, and then if she plans, then it will be good.
Because conceiving maybe because of that obesity also. So if we focus more on obesity, then
if she conceives, whether she in that overweight or obese state, then she will have the adverse effect. Conception might occur in 1 year or 12 or 6 months or something, depending upon the uterus, and the ovulation happening to her. Okay, that depends upon her reproductive system. Conception can occur in obese people also, but then she will have the adverse effect of that. She will get obese.
She is unable to conceive. So she is thinking the reason could be like weight and all.
Of course. The reason could be weight. She must be having PCOS. The periods might be irregular. She needs to focus on solving those problems.
Same goes with underweight people. Like first of all, they should focus on the health status and then for conceiving.
What happens in underweight people is that, see, they are already not having enough nutrition for their own self, and if they conceive, then what are they going to transfer to the fetus in from there? They don't have good amount of stores in there, so they are not going to transfer good nutrition to the fetus in the first 3 months. And if the lady is underweight, she will accompany some kind of micronutrient deficiency, so which will have an adverse effect in the fetus, development of the fetus. Okay, ma'am, after childbirth, many mothers will gain weight. What is the reason? Yes, because if the mother is breastfeeding, she is hungry double the time, and during lactation period, there is an increased amount of energy which needs to be taken. It is 600 plus. Okay, normal जो ले रही है उससे 600 plus उसको लेना है. And even though she does not want to take, if she is exclusively breastfeeding, she will eat lot of food. She will be hungry, so definitely she is going to gain weight. But that weight gain is for short term, for first 6 months only. Then gradually, once the child shifts to the complementary food, the hunger of that mother will gradually decline, and then she will gradually reduce her weight. For first 6 months or for first year of the child's life, we don't have to focus on the weight of the mother. It will increase only, but then it will reduce also. Once the lady will come into the normal healthy food system, she will be able to reduce. But if she continues eating that amount of meal, the weight gain will continue. She needs to reduce gradually. See, in the first 6 months, the lady feels hungry every 2 hours, and main 3 meals, mostly in lunch and dinner, she eats 7 to 8 bhakris or rotis. So that much of hunger is there in the first 6 months. But then gradually she needs to start reducing, and this happens. My 2-year nephew gets hiccup during having every meal. 2 years. Then we used to give small pieces for consuming. He's having continuously since 2 to 3 months while he's okay. What is the reason? He must be very active, first of all, or he must be, I don't know, but we cannot talk while eating. So hiccup comes because we are swallowing air as well as food together, and the child is at this age is very active and mostly running here and there while eating. They don't want to sit and eat or complete their food at one go. So practice should be done by the mother, so that the child sits with the family and eats the food together without doing any kind of musty or any kind of talking or everything. This is very difficult for these 2-year-old children, but then gradually a practice will make this child perfect.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for answering all the doubts. If students have any other doubts, I'll ask them to WhatsApp me so I can forward you the questions, because we have a limitation of time.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for being there again, ma'am, and it
Thank you
was
so
good interacting with you.
Thank you so much.